So yeah, I'm doing these things I'm calling them Unplanned with Phil Bland.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I like their rhymes as well. That's good.
Like I said, I'm just doing these sessions. I'm gonna live stream them on YouTube for like longer form, kind of like an hour or something, and then just build that up and just do as many as I can, but then take the best bits. And then what you do, what I was talking about, the Gary V content model, is basically you make these long form videos, and then you put them on either YouTube, you strip the audio off like you're doing, and you put it on a full length
Right.
podcast. But then you take the best bits and you give them as highlights on like all of the like micro content on all of the channels. So you'll go like, I think Instagram Live, no, sorry, IGTV would probably be like a long form.
Yeah, I think that I think the limit's 10 minutes there.
Oh, right. I didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's, well, actually, let me switch it up. I think it's 10 minutes limit on Instagram. IGTV. Yeah, because I think IGTV is 60 minutes. Never mind. So
Nice.
Yeah. So you can upload an hour, yeah.
So you could just upload the whole video on there. I think, but most of the videos that I'm seeing on there are kind of shorter snippets, and then people are putting them in their posts on their Instagram feed.
Yeah. So as soon as like with my podcast, we're starting an Instagram soon. But before I started, I want to have because I have like right now there's 5 published episodes,
Nice.
but I have
what's it called?
It's called Mount Olympus.
Mount Olympus. All right. Cool.
And I did a full rebrand, right? Because so my advertising agency is called Aries Advertising, like the God of War. Yeah. And then I had called previously, right? Up until episode 4, I had called my podcast Confessions of an Entrepreneur. Yeah. But the issue I had with that name is, one, it was too long, right? And it didn't really flow off my tongue when I said it. Like, it didn't feel right. And second, it like tied me down too much to entrepreneurship. And although I do love speaking about entrepreneurship, and I know a lot of my following are aspiring young entrepreneurs, but I also want to talk about a lot of other stuff. Yeah. You know, there's so much more I want to talk about. There's so many more people. Like one of my clients is a life coach, right? We had him on the podcast, and you know, we were speaking about everything that wasn't super related to business. And then when I was uploading it to Confessions of an Entrepreneur, it just didn't feel right. Like it didn't feel like it you know.
Do you know what it is? I think it's kind of like, it's like any form of self-expression or creativity. And like entrepreneurship is one of those, but then also other things that are interesting are like sports people that choose just to do something a little bit different and dedicate themselves to a craft. Exactly. And you wouldn't necessarily put that on Confessions of an Entrepreneur, but they've just decided to not go the traditional route and do something different. And that's cool.
But it's still like a story you'd want to talk about, you know, or have someone on to like interview them. Yeah. So then I said, you know what, let me just brand it something that goes well with my agency. So, you know, it makes sense. And I just called it Mount Olympus because, you know, Olympus and whatnot. Nice. But yeah, I think as we were talking about before we started the live, you know, content is just so important, especially nowadays when you do run a business. And I mentioned this in one of my articles, you have so many touch points, you know, with your consumer nowadays, and they judge you so much. Like they critique every single, you know, touch point. And in one of the articles, I actually wrote about how when I started my entrepreneurial journey, like I think it was like a year and a half ago, more or less, just south of a year and a half ago, I had my website, and it was a great website, looked very good. You know, I had my like company Facebook page, but I had an Instagram, right? And this Instagram didn't really care about it, right? I had about, I want to say like 20 stock images posted, just like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, those classic ones of people like working at a desk, or like 5 people pointing at like a,
wow. Yeah. You just went on Shutterstock, right?
yeah. And I was like, this will look good. And then, you know, the bio was just like, oh, we do advertising. But to me, it was like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't really take care of it, but you know, they'll see my great website. They'll see my great content on Facebook, whatever. But no, like I had one of these clients, and we were going to sign them on a retainer. And, you know, he kept saying like, yeah, like you guys, you know, you look like you know what you're doing, like you have great case studies, testimonials, etc. But you know, your Instagram has 154 followers and, you know, stock images. Like, how can I trust you?
Yeah.
And
they want to see that. They want to see that you've done. Like they don't want to see. They don't want to hear you talk about it. They want to see like you could actually do for them what you've done for yourself.
Exactly. So I think from then I learned, just like, if you're not gonna take care of it, just don't even have it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
genuinely, like, and I see this with a lot of my clients. So we work with e-commerce businesses, right? And a lot of e-commerce businesses, they
Mm-hmm.
think, well, I understand why they would, but they prioritize Instagram. So they really care about their Instagram. They have a social media content team for their Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and all they want to do is just grow that. But then they completely just forget about their Facebook.
Right.
So you go into, so they might have like an Instagram that has 30K followers and like super nice and pretty, but then as soon as you go on their Facebook, it's like they get like 3 likes per post. It's like
Yeah.
dying out. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
banner is like, says like 2017 because it hasn't been updated in 3 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think, yeah, I don't know, content right now, and just carrying, I think carrying a justified and well kept, sophisticated image on each of your touch points is really what like makes the difference between a successful e-commerce and a less successful e-commerce. But
Yeah.
again, you could mention the same thing like with a physical store. Like if you don't have a good looking, in Italian we call it vetrina, window
Yeah. Yeah.
shop.
Window dressing. Yeah.
Yeah, like if that's not good looking, you won't have people coming in. And I think that's
Yeah.
what business owners need to put together.
I was actually talking to a friend of mine that works for Harris Tweed Hebrides. They make Harris Tweed is like a specially woven wool that comes from Scotland, and they make
Okay, okay.
their brand. They partner with different brands, but we were having this conversation the other day about what comes first, product or brand, and it was quite an interesting conversation because it was like he was arguing that product always comes first and then brand comes second.
Okay.
And I guess, yeah, we were just like kind of, and then I guess I was thinking about it afterwards and I was like, they're almost like one and the same thing.
Mhm.
Like they're like, well, if you don't create a great product in the first place, then you're never going to build that great reputation
Yeah.
that's needed. And then it can't all be superficial. I mean, if you've got a great Instagram account, but then you send somebody a terrible piece of jewelry that breaks,
Yeah.
then it's like you're gonna get bad
Yeah, no,
reviews.
no, I agree, and that's what I think. That's what I think is broken in the drop shipping model. Do you know drop shipping?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because in drop shipping, you are essentially repurposing, not repurposing, but you're taking you know low quality products from another country, introducing them to a different market. You're giving this super nice brand, right? You're giving
Yeah.
a super sleek, high tech, you used Canva for it. It's a really great brand. And then, after a week that your customer gets it, it breaks. And then that's why these shops have to close every
Mm.
3 months, because, the reviews start coming in of saying like, oh, this is terrible quality, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So that's what I think is broken in the drop shipping model. But I would always say that drop shipping, I think, is great for testing marketing tactics and e-commerce tactics.
Mm.
So let's say you were a business owner who wanted to start, let's say, a jewelry, right? And more or less exactly what ring you'd want to do, and you can refine one on, let's say, AliExpress or one of these sites, and then you can market that. You can practice tactics that you were going to use on your actual store, and then you can see what works best. Email marketing tactics,
Yeah.
website layouts, all of that. So in that sense, I think it's great because
Yeah.
it's kind of like a playground, let's say, for e-commerce.
Yeah. I
But
think it's like key. This testing thing is like something I don't know. It's like, so I don't know whether it's something inherent in you as a human, whether you're somebody that likes testing or whether you just like to. It's almost like this. I want to come up with a concept in my own brain, and the world will want it.
yeah,
Versus, I don't have any idea what the world wants. It's kind of like that Steve Jobs thing where he tells the world what they're going to want.
yeah,
They don't even know they want it until he tells them. And versus like assuming you don't know anything and then just putting something out there. But I think I'm sadly naturally in the place where I think that I can just make something up.
right.
And that's kind of what I was telling you just before we went live around the app that I've been building, where I've just been sitting there working on it. And I still think it's like a good concept, but like that you need to like test the market.
Yeah,
And I didn't do that. I went into product development stage for too long
right,
without testing every single assumption that I was
right,
making along the way. And you can do that with jewelry, but it's also the same with software. It's the same with everything. You need to kind of be constantly checking whether it's something that somebody
I mean,
wants.
I think your idea, I wouldn't completely put it on the spectrum of trying to, you know, invent something new and then trying to work on or like, I wouldn't on the spectrum of something completely new to something that's already being done. I would put it somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good, because, you know, there's a saying that like that, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Like with a lot of entrepreneurs, when they start out, they always think that they need to, you know, have this insane idea where it's like completely revolutionary. No one's ever thought of it, and it's going to change society as we know it. But realistically, you just need to be able to create an adjustment to an already existing idea.
Yeah.
So it's just,
I think, I always see that as well, where people like, it's not about innovation is very often not about creating something completely new. It's solving a new problem. It's solving an old problem in a new way, in a much more efficient way that saves time or money. And like, there are probably no new problems. There are just new solutions to things. Like, I mean, maybe there are new problems when it comes to, like, I don't know, cloud computing or whatever. That wasn't existent, so you need some new tool for that. But generally, people want to get places. Uber was more efficient than black cabs. People want to, like, come together to do work on projects. Like, they do that through corporate partnerships at the moment. Maybe there's a digital version that could exist. Like, these types of things. You just don't know, but you can kind of imagine how you could use tools for today to recreate what used to exist.
No, I agree. And I think because recently for my agency, I was trying to, so I'm not a coder at all, like zero. Like I have no idea how to, just absolutely no idea how to. But I've always admired it, right? From the sidelines, I always thought this was such a great tool. And for my agency, I was trying to create an outreach method, right, that would help me be more efficient and save time while still being able to give the clients that the leads that I am outreaching a very personalized experience. Because I don't believe in the bulk outreach. I don't believe in the, you know, using a software, download 300 emails and then just like send them a super generic email. I believe in you know, really researching about a client, if it because also, like, with any service provider, especially when it's performance based, you're setting yourself up for failure if the product that you're marketing isn't successful already. That's a massively important thing, and that's something that a lot of starting agency owners don't actually, you know, realize, because for them it's like, oh, like, he's paying me £1,000 to do this, I have to do it, like I might as well do it, right? Like, because it'll just be successful. But realistically, if the product's not good, then it doesn't matter how many leads you can bring to them. If they don't convert,
then you're not going to get paid.
He's not going to sign on for the next one. Exactly. So
it's kind of like you don't have control.
It's a bit of an interesting one, but
it's kind of, if you've got skin in the game.
Exactly.
Sorry, I think the reception went a little bit. It's kind of like that struggle between client and service provider, where service provider wants to, you know, doesn't want to have any liability for things that are outside of their control, but then again, you know, a client or CEO or founder of business wants to know that their service provider has some skin in the game, and they're not going to get paid regardless of whether they deliver results. So that's a bit of a tension that's always there. But that's with employees as well as company, or employees and shareholder. It's kind of like that principal agent struggle.
But and then I think that's when incentive-based programs you know, are fantastic. I think they really are, because especially with where's your cost?
Can
you hear me?
I think, I'm not sure whether it's mine or yours. It's just, but I'm sure.
So as long as they're covering, you know, a base cost that covers your fees, and then on top of that, you know, you put a nice, let's say, a commission basis, so like a 25% on return on ROAS, right? Then you'll actually see a much better results for the client and for the agency, because Yeah, because now when an agency employee is sitting there creating the advertisement, he knows he's creating the advertisement for himself, not only for the client. You know,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
takes
yeah.
it, and when there is that time, because with managing people, there's always going to be that time where you're not there, right? And your employee contract, whoever you have that's helping you, is going to have to make that decision where it's like, do I spend 10 more percent of my energy to do this, right? Do I really need to do this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've already been working 5 hours, but there's this one last thing that I need to do. Should I do it? And you're not there to tell them to do it,
Uh-huh.
right? If they don't have that incentive to just push them over the edge, they're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so creating an incentivized program within the agency as well
Mm-hmm.
is just, it's a game changer, honestly.
Yeah. There's kind of there's parts to that as well. It's like that all kind of comes down to culture as well.
Mm.
Like, if you if you can build a strong enough culture within the agency or within any company,
Yeah,
then people are, and align people on wanting to get to a certain place that isn't just driven by like mercenary
exactly.
type
Exactly.
money in the bank, but actually they feel like a purpose towards what they're doing, then that person that's sitting there having to make that decision for themselves is equally emotionally as invested
Mhm.
as financially invested. So that's like, that just comes down to like leadership and being able to build the kind of structure that you embed those values or purpose into the
Yeah,
organization.
yeah.
So that stuff, I mean, like, people underestimate how important that stuff is, but it's when, yeah, it can be pretty important to get people aligned, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why they say, the modern way of management, you have to be a transformational leader, right?
Yeah.
You can't use coercive power and saying like, oh, I'm paying you, so you have to do this. You need to instill a sense of purpose and mission
Mm-hmm.
within the team, and then, as you very well said, it's a culture, right? It's a culture within the agency, within your team to excel and do better. And I think that also comes in when you start when you start putting in the reputation of your work, right? um yeah, so I think for my agency, one of the best things is, at least what I pride myself in doing, is each person. So we're a team of 6 part-time, and like 3 full-time, right? And so, but with every single person, I treat them as if they were the CEO of their department, right? To me, it's like, whatever you do, this is how I see you. This is your reputation. But I also credit them. If a client tells me, oh, this creative of the campaign, right, is such a really great graphic design, I will, go to them and say thank you in front of everyone, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a public thing. Like, this is this is you, like, you did this, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm giving them kind of, but also, if they didn't do well, I'm also going to tell them. So
Mm.
then their reputation starts coming into play, right?
Yeah.
So, and that gives them more of incentive. But I think it's just treating each person as if they were a CEO or a CMO.
It's ownership. It's like having
Yeah,
some sort
yeah,
of, it's like accountable for what you do. I always get it actually always frustrated me when I was working on projects and things where I just didn't understand when somebody sent me something that I knew, like, if somebody's not that good, like if they're not that capable and they need to improve like their skills, and they send you something that's like subpar because they're not that experienced, then part of you is like, all right, well, I'll just give them some feedback, and then they'll improve. And,
mhm,
they're more junior, so that's fine. But it used to, like, the worst thing for me is when I know somebody's good and they've just done like a half-assed effort, and it's just like, it's almost like that 8 hours of their life, they have just decided to do like a subpar
yeah,
piece of work. And like I don't know, something weird where I'm like, my um anything that I create, I'm like kind of thinking that it's some form of expression of self. And
yeah,
and if you're putting it out there and then the world judges it, I think that that's like ultimately everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And even us having this conversation right now, like, we're expressing ourselves, but you can express yourself in written format, you can express
Yeah,
yourself in creating anything. And like, see when somebody sends me something and it's just like, I know they could do so much better, I get annoyed for them. I'm not
yeah,
even
yeah,
annoyed
yeah,
that it's that bad. I'm just like, you can do better. So yeah.
You know, and I think that comes down to a mindset kind of thing. I think, and especially when I'm hiring and I'm looking for people to join my team, I never really look for skills per se, unless it is something very, very, you know, complicated and you know, complex, like coding, right?
Mhm.
But you know, if it comes to, you know, graphic design, if it comes to actually running and, you know, creating media buying ads, uh, I tend to look for mindset. So because I think you can teach a lot of things, you know, and you can pay for, you know, your company can pay for a training and you send them off for a training and they can do that, or you can buy them like a course and they can learn it. So that's the actual like skill set's not too important.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, but I think it's that willingness to work hard, to learn. I think that's so important. Like the
Mhm.
willingness to learn, and also and the willingness of autonomy.
Yeah,
So
initiate.
yeah,
Do
yeah, 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 yeah,
That's it. Yeah,
exactly. Like
it's like
yeah,
self-start. Don't. I'm not going to tell you everything.
exactly. And yeah, and you can tell from like the first day that you work with someone if they have that in self start in them, because you know it's between getting 18 questions on the first day, or it's like the okay cool, I'll let you know how the day went. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it's I always prefer the latter.
And
Uh,
I'm like, and then I started thinking, do they have? Is it inherently in someone to be like a self-starter
yeah,
type
I think
person?
so. I think so.
Yeah, and then but then also like you're. I also think like you're meeting a person at a point in time where they've had like a childhood, they've had an upbringing and all that stuff, and they might not like have had confidence instilled in them
Mm,
to go out on their own and even just to put their hand up in a meeting and make a recommendation.
yeah.
And so like part of me thinks like, yeah, I do think that they like there are some people that just have a kind of natural thing, but then a lot of people have like confidence instilled in them as well, and whether you can like help inject some of that to make somebody more confident, they you know.
There's definitely as I said right earlier, we're working with a life coach,
Yeah.
right? So doing all of his
Oh
advertisement
yeah.
coaching. And he was on my podcast, right? And so on the fourth, and that was the third episode, I think. And we were talking about this. We were talking about what are the services, because I was kind of interested, right? Because life coach is such a vague kind of, not vague, broad, you know, topic. I
Yes.
was like, what's the most common thing? And he works with men. He works with businessmen, so from 35 to 50,
Okay.
more or less. And I was like, what's the most common people come to you for? And he said it's literally that, it's confidence. People like for him it's business owners who they are in a meeting and they don't feel confident enough to speak up, or they
Mhm.
don't feel like they have the I think he mentioned not masculinity but the I don't want to even say self-worth, but the drive in them, the confidence in them to say like this is like the
my
man that I need to be
yeah
heard, you know,
my
like
yeah I have a voice type
yes,
thing.
yeah. So that's what they struggle with, right? It's this confidence thing. It's not being able to get your thoughts out in a very important meeting, in an interview, in
Mhm.
you know, and if you have to close a sales deal, they just can't get it out. And so it's interesting that you said that, because I think a lot of people suffer from it. But yeah, I think it can be traced to childhood. So I'm actually 19 years old, right?
Oh wow,
So,
wow, wow, cool.
yeah.
That's good.
So
That's really
I'm
impressive.
thank you. So I'm quite young for, you know, for a lot of the people I work with.
Yeah.
And you know, I've never been in I've like before I started my agency, I was never in some meeting with, you know, 50 professionals and I had to speak up. So I never really got that training, like confidence training, let's say.
Yeah.
Like my confidence I think comes from just being myself. I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Just like a yeah,
Well, if you're yeah, yeah, I think that this is probably kind of cliche, but it's totally true. That it's like if you're pretending to be somebody you're not, then you're just spending energy and time on that,
yeah,
and you're always going to be worried that the mask is going to slip.
yeah,
Whereas if whereas whereas if you're just being yourself, then it's like, well, you can either like me or not, and it's
yeah.
fine either way. But like, at least I'm just being honest, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. I think yeah, and there's something I trust about people who are very honest with themselves and
Mm.
who are yeah, and I'd say with business as well, like especially with entrepreneurship, when you know the highs are high but the lows are lows, like
Yeah.
very very low. And I have a lot of entrepreneur friends who are my age, and then you know, because I think when you are doing something like this at a young age, it's easy to feel. I don't want to say alienated, but it's definitely easy to feel like you're not part of the bigger conglomerate, right? Because, when a lot of my friends are going out and getting drunk, and I'm not saying I don't, like, I'm not saying I also don't go out on like a weekend, but
Yeah.
when they're doing that with uni life, so I go to uni as well, right?
Okay. Right.
And in uni life, it's like, it's that whole like Wednesday, Friday, Thursday,
Yeah.
go out, go out, go out. And those days I
Been
don't go
there,
out.
done that. Yeah. Oh, you
Yeah.
don't go out during the week. Yeah.
No, I don't. So because, I have, projects, I have
Commitments.
like
Yeah.
deadlines, responsibilities, etc. for the next day. So yeah, and I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like when people are doing that. I mean, I reckon some of the most unhappy. I probably looked happiest during some of the most unhappy times of my life.
Mm, mm.
Like, I was, yeah. I mean, so I did an international exchange in Sweden,
Okay.
um, and all international students there. That was incredible. That was a great trip. But it was similar to what you're talking about. It was going out and drinking loads
Yeah.
of nights of the week. But you're kind of while you think you're having fun, you're also kind of lost because you don't know where you're
Mhm,
going and you
mhm.
don't know what you care about. And like you've got kind of no direction. And I,
Yeah.
I think I still had that. I thought that I would kind of find
Yeah.
the direction. I was like, okay, I finished uni. I'm gonna go get a job in corporate world. Ended up working at the Bank of England for a while. Worked at Ernst and Young. So I mean, I'm very different from you in the sense that I followed a traditional path for quite a while. Um, but uh, but but yeah, I still didn't necessarily feel like I had this sense of direction that
Yeah.
and then because you do that, you sort of end up doing things like going out on nights out or whatever
Yeah.
because you think it's going to give you this short-term
Yeah.
gratification, but really it's like I don't know. I've been doing a lot of reading and listening and stuff over the last couple of years while I've been working on this platform, and um, a lot of the stuff that I uh, have been thinking about is like short term, like having a long term goal or like objective that you can like dedicate your whole life to,
Right.
and like it's almost like it's not related to like how much money you earn, or it's mainly by like what kind of impact you can
Yeah.
have in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that when you aren't striving for like passing that exam or getting that promotion or trying to get that international
Yeah.
transfer and things, if you're striving for something bigger, this is kind of where it comes to purpose and stuff like that. If you can kind of get yourself to a point where you're striving for your impact in the world, how many how many people's lives you touch,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you stop worrying about like trying to escape from it
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way, because after you pass an exam or you get a promotion or things, you actually find that you feel more hollow
Yeah.
afterwards
Yeah.
than when you achieve it than
Mhm.
you did before you were striving for it,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, this was meant to solve all my problems, but actually
It's kind of like so I did IB. I don't know if you know what this is. It's like it's a different type of schooling. So it's not like A levels or
okay,
like it's just like it's international, right? Because
yeah,
I lived in a bunch of countries when growing up. So it's pretty good. It's pretty neat because it's like the international schooling system that you can do whilst living in different countries. So someone doesn't need to do like, so I lived in like Spain, England, Egypt, and Italy.
oh,
So so I didn't have to do like Egyptian school, then Italian school, and then
yeah,
A level. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
that's
it's
cool,
quite neat. Yeah. So it lets people who don't live a normal life do a normal schooling system,
that's
right?
cool,
And they can use that slogan if they want it, because I don't know if they do, but that was great.
that's great. That's a good one.
um, and what was I going with? What was the point? What were we talking about?
Talking about like dedicating your life to things,
Oh yes,
having
yes, 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 yes. So in the IB, right, it's like the final exams, the most important thing, right? It's like everyone, like you speak to all your friends, like everyone's like, oh, you have to, because also there's level, obviously there's a certain level point of points, right? So to get into like Cambridge and Oxford, it's 45, right, which is the maximum. That's like
Mhm.
you top out. So I would say like 43 to 45. Like LSC is like 40 upwards. you take like a uni like UCL, you're like at 38 upwards. So
Yeah.
there's like all these like requirements, and everyone's kind of like talking about it, and everyone, it's like almost, and then you get predicted grades, which I'm sure it's the same in A levels. But it just seems like it's the end of the world. Like if you don't get a good grade, or if you don't get your predicteds, and all your friends are getting these points, and like it's crazy. Like for me, when I was doing my mock exams, which is essentially it's like the training exams for the final exams, I got 29 points. Okay. Because I wasn't really trying that much. I wasn't really studying. And then when I got 29 points, which 29 points, let me put it in perspective. If I can't remember right, 24 is failing, right? So 29 is not great at all, right? It's kind of like, like you got to do something about it. And I remember sitting there and I was like, okay, it's time to start working. And so, and I'm like, but the drive that pushed me to getting like to working for the exams was like, oh, like these are the most important, this is going to be the most important thing I'm ever going to do in my life. Like and then for the next 3 months after that I got the 29 points, I just sat every night and I just worked every night, just worked, and then ended up getting 39 points, which is, it's quite a big difference. And I was very happy. But, it's like, as soon as I sat those exams, right, and I like left that room, I was like, now what? Do you know what I mean? It was like, for the past 3 months, my life has been this. Like, this has been the purpose of my life. And now you're like done, and you're just like, so, I'm supposed to just go to uni and then start everything again, start the whole education process again to do what? And then, and that summer is when I started my agency. Because
on the agency thing, and in consulting in general, it's a little bit kind of tricky to like find that kind of purpose thing, because it's got to be kind of, it can't be product specific. It needs to be kind of like telling stories, I guess.
So I'll tell you how we see it, or like, at least how I see it.
Sure.
For any product, and especially with e-commerce, marketing is one of, if not the most important aspect that creates a successful product. Because if you can't get it in front of people, then people are not going to buy it, and then your store is just not going to go anywhere. So for me, when I take on a client, it's like I'm deciding to change someone's life. Because, and I don't mean this lightly, like our results are exceptional. Like we genuinely take someone, especially if it's like a business owner who maybe has like, his niece doing his social media content management, and like, his wife who does like the operations, or, whatever. And it's like a family run business. We are literally changing people's lives, because we're taking e-commerce that are, making, let's say 10, 15,000, pounds a month, to 100,000 to 120,000 in the space of 6-7 months. Right. And it's completely life changing. So for me, when I take on, business, it's like, okay, I'm literally changing someone's life. And it's even better when the product they're selling is like a sustainable. So we've worked with everyone in the e-commerce niche, but we've taken a liking recently for cosmetics, right? I think it's a great market. I think it's super easy to advertise. You can get wild on the creatives. Like you can really like have fun. And then there's like a really big, it seems like a very narrow industry, but there's so much you can do with it, because there's the whole sustainable, there's that whole feel young, anti-aging, this and that. So there's so many like angles that you can approach it, and depending on the product, obviously. But let's say a product is sustainable, it's made with charcoal, activating charcoal, all that good stuff. It does actually feel like you're doing something good, because you're promoting, a product that would substitute, let's say, like the generic soap bar that is polluting rivers in Brazil. I don't know. And
it's trying to, and it's also it's helping small businesses as well. There's something kind of, and also just from a personal point of view, you get some sort of variety in the type of things that you can almost scale your contribution, rather than just being within one organization, and you're going to go through a cycle of marketing, and you're not going to be fully utilized all the time. At least if you've got these skills that you can, like you say, drive people's businesses forward, then you might as well offer that to a portfolio of clients, and then you can help more people.
And I think I'm very happy with the decision I made. Like, being completely truthful, when I came out of, my IB exams, and I was in that 4 month, because it's like a 4 month summer until you start uni the next year. And I go to Cass Business School in London.
Cool.
And I remember just sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I just spent 2 years of my life, or well, 12 years of my life studying. Now I have to study 4 more years, and I was like, to then what? To then finish? To then go get a job? Like, it didn't just fit. It didn't fit. Like, it sit nicely in me, and I was like, you know what? Let me just see. Let me just see what else there is that I can do, right? And so I started going online, and one of my friends, he helps coaches people in starting an agency, and spoke to him a little bit, and then I did some more research online. That's when I looked into drop shipping, I looked into the SMA model, I looked into different models, right? And then I thought, the agency model, like I think it's a great vehicle. It's definitely a great cash flow vehicle. And
And
I have
then,
a lot of
and then at some point, if you wanted to like focus on your own, if you wanted to sell your own product, you've kind of got that infrastructure there.
exactly. So I'm starting a clothing line, right?
Great.
And because
What's
I
it
have
called?
an agency, it's called Talk.
Top. Nice.
But
Cool,
yeah,
man.
and because I have an agency, I feel quite confident in it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like I already know, how to market products, how to position them. Retail's not our but bread and butter. Is that the saying? It's not our bread and butter, but at the same time, with Facebook advertising and advertising in general, the principles are the same. And that's another thing. Like, a lot of time when you are doing sales calls and you're speaking to these potential clients, and they say, let's say a retail, right? I'll be like, yeah, okay, we have extensive experience in the cosmetics niche, and they're like, yeah, but you haven't done retail, and I'm like, that's true, but the principles are the same. Like, and especially when you're looking into products that are targeted for the same gender.
Sorry, one second.
No worries.
There's a binman coming. This is what happens when you go live.
There's always something happens.
I know.
Yeah. So especially when you're targeting the same sort of audience, right? So for a cosmetics brand, it's women. Let's say, and then there's something like young, like feel young, right? So it's like women between 20 and 28, 30, right? And then you have in London, and then you have a retail that sells clothes for young women. At the end of the day, it's similar,
It's the same audience.
Yeah, it's the same audience. The only thing that really changes the creatives, but then again, you can just find what works.
And are you producing the creative?
We do as well. So we don't do, but okay, let me actually fix that. We do all of the design of the graphic design. We get supplied the creative, so we don't do any photo shoots. We don't
They'll go out. Yeah. And
so,
would you say to the clients, we'll coordinate the photographers to do that creative, or do they just supply it to you directly?
Yeah, I mean, when we do outreach, we work with already established brands.
Okay, so they've got a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So it's not like they're starting out. So they already have a lot of content that then we take on board, and then we add a little bit of nice graphic design, make it a little bit better. But
nice.
I think one of the most important things, and the one that we always need to, the one that a lot of brands don't have, that we need to gather, it's customer reviews and product demonstrations, because those are super, super important. So even just having a high quality video of you unmasking your product from a box and putting it nicely and showing it, and or having let's say it's a cosmetics product, a woman who or whoever the target is, putting it on her face and then showing it, changes everything, absolutely everything. And even more when it comes to customers reviewing your products. And that's why each time we take on a new client, one of the first things is we send out emails giving out free products in exchange for customer reviews, whether it be written, whether it be a video of them talking about it, or a picture of them with it, because it's just super powerful.
It just scales so well with influencers.
Especially
if they've got, and also that's something that I'm thinking about doing with this podcast or on these YouTube things, is I've also been like, I've been adding loads of people on LinkedIn, because obviously platform I've been building, it's called Big Build.
I saw that.
And because the platform's like business focused, so it's kind of B2B. That's why I've been building up on LinkedIn so much. So I was kind of thinking, well, it's kind of a good platform to like grow on, because people, that if somebody likes your content, then or engages with it, then their viewers can see as well. So like, it's similar to the influencer model where these things can like grow exponentially.
Exactly.
If people are consuming and sharing content again and again. So
I want to actually ask you, because I know you have a big following on LinkedIn, and I've definitely underestimated within my time working in the space. I've underestimated LinkedIn so much, so much.
Are you on TikTok?
On TikTok.
Yeah.
I've been on, but I mean, I do, but I have to delete it every 2 days because I spend too much. Like I get addicted, and then I have to like snap out of it and delete it.
Yeah.
I spend way too much time. But
You're mainly on Facebook, right?
On terms of what, like using?
No, or on focused on like, because you were saying earlier your Instagram, you kind of didn't build that up as much.
Yeah, no. So I'm basically all on LinkedIn, essentially.
Okay.
And I have a personal brand on Instagram.
Right, got it.
So if you search me up on Instagram,
LinkedIn is the one. I mean, for like business development. But then again, like TikTok, it's the same with all these things. They kind of, you think it's for kids, and then all of a sudden it's like Instagram was for kids, and now now it's mums posting their kids on it. So
I think TikTok, it's one of those. I mean, this happens with every social media. As soon as it comes out, the younger generations are always the ones to use it first,
Snapchat,
because they're the ones that have less friction on technological diffusion, right? Because they're the ones who just accept anything that comes to them because they don't really have.
If all your friends are on link or are on Instagram, then you're not going to join TikTok because they're all there. Whereas if you're a young person, like, and none of your friends are already on social media, you're more likely to pick up something else because there's no network effects with your group already.
And also with Instagram now, it's reached a point where it's become a marketplace. Whether it's the advertising, whether it's the company pages, personal brands, it's left that. And TikTok is at that stage right now, at that prenatal stage, right, where it's like it's just funny content,
But that's when you can blow up on these things. I really haven't like got on there as much, in my Instagram is like terrible, but I've just been, I mean, like I said, I've been like too insular for too long, and I'm literally about to just start just only focusing outwards.
Right.
And then if I find the right person that can help me further develop the product, the technology, then I'll do that. But right now I just kind of want to build up an audience.
Yeah. I actually have a great person that came to mind that could actually, I interviewed him on one of my podcasts, and he's become like a good friend of mine.
Oh, cool.
And he's also like, he's pretty young, he's like me, but he started 3 companies, and they all do software development. So he creates platforms, websites, whatever it is. He's super smart guy. So I mean, if you ever come to that, just shoot me a message and I'll connect.
I am coming to London once this crazy coronavirus stuff is finished, because the contract that I've got set up is for 6 months is in London, so I'll be moving down and then just take it from there. So
cool. We can get a coffee when you're here then.
Yeah, sounds good.
It'd be good. I mean, he's in San Diego, unfortunately, but yeah, we're actually thinking of starting a webinar. So it's like an event, right? An online event every month. And, having CEOs talk, big people at Google, big people at Facebook, and having, and it's mostly marketed for young entrepreneurs or university students who are interested in business. So creating a webinar. So it's just, just online events, value, and, have some of these people just talk about the stories, because at the end of the day, people love to talk about themselves. Which is it's why it's so good for, and especially when again, content is king, right? So, when you reached out to me, I think you reached out to me twice, right? The first time you reached out to me, you invited me to
a Necker event.
Yeah. How did that work, by the way? That's kind of cool. Like, I saw that and I was like, this is kind of cool.
I know. It's quite a pricey tag. Yeah. It's just a friend of mine that's been running these events on Necker Island. But I mean, obviously with the current environment,
I'm sure it didn't go through.
It's been postponed. But I was just at that point where coronavirus was spreading, and then I was just watching it, and I was thinking, I don't know whether this event is going to go ahead. But I think, it's an incredible event, but it's kind of like a price tag, so not many people got back to me. But I thought I'd reach back out, and obviously this is like a good value exchange, because you're telling your story. I can post it on content. Like, it's kind of like a win-win. You want to find
Yeah,
those win-wins with people, and then they're
exactly.
more likely to want to
Yeah.
engage with you.
Did you read my last LinkedIn article, LinkedIn post?
I took a look through some of your LinkedIn posts. I can't remember which one was your last one.
Because I wrote one. I don't know if it's exactly that one, but I wrote one about Gary Vee, actually. Because I talk about it in my podcast. You might have
Right.
listened to it. And I remember Gary Vee, he was talking about how his graphic designer reached out to him, okay, DM'd him, cold DM, and basically said and created a no lose situation, right? Where it's, he didn't even say like, I can provide you this and you'll gain this. It was literally like, he literally told him like, send me your logo and I will give you 3-4 recreations, and then if you like it, then we can work together. And boom, and that's literally a no lose for Gary, or for anyone you're reaching out to.
The only thing is time to look at it, but I mean,
yeah, exactly. But I mean, I guess so. But that is already such a different step from, hey, do you have 30 minutes to talk about my service? Do you get what I mean? Like, it's like,
especially if it's time lost, like any time, the time that we've just spent here, it's not lost, it's recorded, it's on YouTube. Other people are going to be able to go and watch it, and then we'll post it on LinkedIn. So yeah, it's pretty
exactly.
It's pretty good thing. I've got something on at 11, so I better hop off.
Yeah.
Or 11 o'clock my time. Oh yeah, you're in London.
It's same time.
But hey, listen, really good meeting you, and definitely let's grab a coffee and whenever.
Likewise, let me know when this is out, and I'll help you repost it and whatnot.
So. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. I'll probably just do, like, I might even do 2. Like, there's some quite good content in here, so I'll do different themes, maybe a different content.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much.
No worries, Filippo.
Bye.
Catch you later.